In this video, we will be taking a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. So we will be starting off with a full grey map to signify unexplored land, and we'll be starting off in one singular point. And I think a perfect place to start in would be the Netherlands. Why not? Just a classic place in WICSO. So I think it will be perfect to start out there. So this is the land that the civilizations will start out knowing. And we see a red team forming right here in the Netherlands, and they will start as a pretty big nation. They will send out more and more explorers and just try and figure out what is going on in the world. They will explore into northern Poland, going into Kaliningrad. They will also explore into the Baltic states. They will explore up Jutland into Copenhagen, and they will also explore into southern Sweden. Now, one thing I do plan on doing in this series is I will plan on keeping dates, so we will be starting off in the year 0, and we will be moving up. Right now, I would say we're maybe in the year 30, so yeah. So after fulfilling their desires of exploring new land, we're going to see the red team expand quite a bit. They move down into northern France, and just take a lot of this land that is quite valuable. They move over into parts of southern Germany, and just explore a whole lot more. They end up exploring further down into France, going all the way up to the Pyrenees Mountains, and they do the same thing going up to the Alps, and pretty much all of Gaul is discovered. We see the red team, or I guess the Dutch, go into Denmark now, and they just take over the whole peninsula as well as Copenhagen and the connection point to Sweden. We then see them explore down into France. However, they are starting to get quite big, and a lot of people kind of just want to stabilize because this current process is making the country quite unstable. However, the king will not listen to the people, and he just keeps on trying to take as much territory as possible, seeing it as a way to just improve his strength. But as more and more of this French land is discovered, maybe the king will realize that he was wrong, as we see a very, very notable southern area break away. Now, at first, this just becomes a breakaway state. However, then this kind of turns into a full-on revolution, as we see multiple of these groups popping up. We even see one in parts of Sweden, and this is kind of the first civil war of the series. So we immediately see these blue team groups consolidating over here. However, here these guys are forced out of the country, and they have to kind of flee through the countryside into their remnants over here. We see this Swedish claim quickly be taken back over. However, we do see another rebellion over here in the Calais area. This will kind of join up. However, the red team does manage to kind of cut this off, and this is a big defeat for the blue team. We then see them continue to push in, and at this point it is looking pretty good for the red team as they take Normandy. However, then it kind of goes bad as we see another rebellion break out in the north. However, this time it is even stronger, going into parts of Jutland. This kind of forces them to retreat, and they set up a somewhat defensive line. They are able to kick out Jutland's forces. However, this kind of allows a full consolidation of the front over here. Now, over here we see the front line completely stabilize, and at this point the red team, they're kind of really wanting to end this war, seeing it as being really bloody. So they are going to be kind of forced into signing peace with the blue team. So let's see what this peace treaty looks like. So in this peace treaty here, we can see that a few interesting things have happened. We see that this Swedish breakaway state has gained its own independence away from that of the blue team, who has gained sovereignty by themselves down here. Now, a pretty interesting thing is we see this yellow team form up over here, and this is by people who are very anti-red team but didn't kind of want to form their own country from any of these two breakaways, so they decided to form their own over here. So from this point we see more exploration. We see the green team doing very limited as they are in quite cold areas. However, the blue team is going to cross the Pyrenees and explore into Spain, and they will explore a lot of the northern Iberian coast. They will then colonize a pretty big portion of it going down here, and they are looking pretty good. They also connect up with the Mediterranean Sea, being the first country to do so. Back over to the red team, we see them explore parts of northern Germany as well as Poland, and they are kind of trying to gain strength that they had lost through that war. Over here by the yellow team, we see them explore a very large portion of Poland as well as Belarus, and I guess Ukraine as well. But yeah, no, anyway, they will explore and they will take quite a large chunk of this land, and they kind of stop here so they don't have to border the red team. They will then move up north here and take a pretty big chunk of Estonian land, moving up to St. Petersburg and exploring the coast of southern Finland. We see the blue team then explore all of Iberia. However, it is at this point where we see a new country form. We see this purple team form in southern Iberia, and they will take quite a big coast. This is a pretty big movement. They kind of just want to have their own separate civilization, because this is kind of all grouped together up here, but then separated. We then see them cross the Gibraltar Gap as explored land, and then they colonize this. They also discover the Balearic Islands. Just to note, recording this, I have a really bad cough, so I'm sorry if any of that does manage to sneak its way into the video. Yeah, anyway. We then see more land around the Alps be discovered as they kind of move down also into Central Europe. This area is kind of then just fully explored, and we see more and more of Germany be explored as well. From here we see a pretty big exploration go into the eastern areas of Europe, going into Russia as well as Ukraine, and we see Crimea be discovered. We also see them going down the coast, going into Constantinople as well as Greece. This allows for exploration into the Balkans up to the Carpathian Mountains, and after a few more years we see expansion of explored territory into Italy, leaving the Alps though. We then see Italy be explored all the way down the peninsula and into Sicily. This kind of leads to mass exploration of the Balkans as we see the whole area be discovered, as well as the Anatolian coast. Now we are going to be seeing a few nations form. We see this orange one in northern Greece, this dark red one in Italy, we see this golden one form in Ukraine, and we see this sort of rose pink one form over here in Bulgaria / Romania. Now just really quickly, I'm going to clean up these borders, so I will be back with that. So here we go, I have cleaned up a lot of the borders here, and I think these guys look a lot better now. Now in this we also saw some more land be explored, as well as the connection of the red and the yellow teams. Red team will then take this island right here, and for the very last event of this video we're going to be seeing this teal country form in Central Europe. So we will be beginning down here with the Greek country. The Greeks are quite expansionist, so they will be moving over here to the Constantinople area, moving across the water and taking parts of Turkey. They then move up into the Balkans just a little bit. This causes the pink team to do the same, and these guys are kind of having a little bit of a rivalry going on. Next up we see the gold team doing a little bit of expansion as well, moving over here towards more of the coast. But now we will be having a war. So this blue team over here is going to try and move down because they want access to water. However, this pink team is kind of in the way. So the blue team will be launching a little bit of an attack against the pink team. This does go pretty well at first, however the pink team then gets its stuff together and starts pushing back. But then it kind of goes bad for the pink team because the orange team joins the war and they start invading. They quickly go up and cause a lot of threat to the pink team, and while they are still pushing back against the blue team, the orange team is continuing on. To make this even worse, the gold team actually decides to join and they start pushing in, and it's just kind of over for the pink team at this point as they're getting blasted from 3 sides, and we then see the surrender of the pink team. So looking at this peace treaty here, we can see that the pink team has been heavily reduced. They lose land to all 3 parties involved, and they are now forced to let the blue team access their ports. Next up we will be moving over here as we see the red team skip rock and actually discover the British Isles. They discover a large portion of southern England and all of Wales, keep going, and they stop about here when it starts to get a little bit cold for them. They will then colonise just a bit of this. But now we move over to the blue team. Now, after a little bit more of expansion on the part of the blue team, they start to get very unstable, as the Pyrenees Mountains kind of block off a large portion of control to this southern area from the northern areas where the government is. Because of this, we see a very large breakaway state, and the blue team kind of can't really get to this, so they're going to be forced to recognise the independence. This country will then quickly expand, however they're kind of weak so they won't do it too much. Over in Africa, we see the purple team explore more of the northern coast, now going over into Tunisia. And we see Sardinia and Corsica be explored. Next up, we see the Romans take all the land up to the Alp Mountains, and they also move down a little bit more, but we do see the Greeks make a little landing here. They also take Sicily as well. Over here in Turkey, we see the Greeks continue to expand their known claims. They also take Cyprus. Well, they explore it, they don't take it. And this connects up with the gold team's known land. But now I will be adding in capitals, so I'm just going to put that in really quickly. So the red team's capital will be in the Netherlands. The blue team's capital will be right over here in Normandy. The Spanish country's capital will be over here in northern Spain. These guys will have their capital right at the northern part of Gibraltar. These guys, Rome. The Greeks will have their capital right over here. The purple team, right here. Gold team, right here. And these blue guys, right here. Oh, and I forgot about these two. Green team, right here. And then for the yellow team, I'm just going to make it a little bit darker. But they will have their capital right here. So yeah, those are the capitals of these countries, and now let's get back to looking at them expand. In the north, we see a lot more exploration happen as they fully explore the Baltic Sea up in the northern parts. They also explore around this lake right here, and we see some more exploration into southern Russia. But then we will also see a pretty interesting thing happen, and that is we actually move over here to China, where we see there's also a group of people. These guys probably came from this group, they kind of just moved away, and they're going to settle here and form a new country, or new countries. So the land that these people know is going to be something like this. They know sort of down into Vietnam, but this is what their regional people actually know about that exists. And we will be seeing multiple countries form here. We see this gold one in the south, this beige one in the centre, and we see this brown one up here in the north. And in regards to relations between these guys, they're pretty positive. They don't really mind each other. They're just fine to have their own area and chill there. But now we will be seeing a lot of exploration happen, as pretty much all of the waters of the Mediterranean are discovered over here. And we also see the Greeks discover Egypt. Over here we see the exploration and discovery of Ireland, and we actually see a country form there. That'll be this green country. Their capital will be right about here. Also, these guys have capitals. This one is at Hong Kong. This one is right here. And this one is in Beijing. But with all of this land being explored, we're actually going to see some of this be taken. Specifically the Greeks, they're going to move over from their holding in Sicily and take over Carthage here. We also see them take over a bunch of these islands and more of Anatolia. And we even see them set up a small little colony over here in Egypt. So the Greeks are quickly becoming a very large naval power, and this is going to cause some other nations to also expand their water claims. We see Rome take this island. Purple team takes these islands. Rome also moves over a little bit. We also see this new country form in the Balkans. This connects up with Rome. And they will start to expand pretty quickly over here, also meeting up with the blue team. And this kind of causes a pretty big rush to take over the rest of Europe, and we will actually be seeing some new countries form here. We will be seeing this beige country form over here, north of the Alps, and they move into this unclaimed area over here, and this leads to the blue team taking some, and the Romans taking some. These guys then move a bit over here, and at this point we kind of see the Alps be discovered, as we see these guys take the land there. The red team will take a little bit of land over here, however they are going to kind of stop now, because they are getting quite large. We see this magenta country form up over here, And I think in the middle we're going to see this dark blue country form. I'm just going to pretty up their border just a little. So with these new countries forming, we are seeing a pretty large rise in population. Next up, we will see another country forming over here in Spain. That is going to be this light brown country right here. And then we see a kind of rush to take the rest of Spain, as we see it being split up like this. Now, really quickly, I am just going to fix up these borders because some of them don't really look nice, so I'll be right back with that. Okay, so these are the updated borders. Hopefully these look better, so now let's get back to the video. Over here in Turkey, we see a group move over to here and kind of explore all of this area. They will then move down the Caspian coast because they kind of want to set up their own country away from these guys, and they will be doing it right here. And they're with this country right here. They can kind of just explore around them because they are quite a small country. There isn't many people living in them. But now we're actually going to be seeing a pretty big war, because when the blue team continues to expand over here, we see their neighbours kind of get threatened by them. And this is something that happened a lot in medieval times, like when a country gets too big, you kind of just have to stop them. So we see a coalition forming. This includes Greece, the pink team, this light blue team, and this maroon team. These guys are going to start an invasion of the light blue team, and they're going to quickly move in. And to be quite honest, even Greece by themselves would probably be a pretty hard match for the blue team to fight. But with all of these guys together, they have absolutely no chance of winning. So we don't see them surrender. They're going to fight to the end, but they are getting invaded rapidly. Especially the Greeks. The Greeks do a lot of effort here, making a very large push up. We see the maroon team do the same thing, and after a coup in the capital, we see the blue team surrendering. So looking at this peace treaty here, we can see that the blue team, I guess the light blue team, is no more. They have been split up by the neighbours, and the coup government did gain control of the country. They were also forced to kind of leave all land, which kind of leads to the yellow team swallowing this up. Speaking of the yellow team, they attempt to gain some land in the north, but this just kind of ends up leading to a breakaway state, because at this point the yellow team is kind of a bit too unstable. These guys will kind of just set up themselves as a country without they're not really too focused on expanding. But yeah, just added capitals to all of these new guys, so that should be good. But now we will be moving back over here to China, because we see these guys kind of expand over and connect up with these guys. And these guys, they're kind of in a pretty good spot, but they kind of just want more. So when they get blocked off over here, they move, wrong colour, they move up over here, and then they blocked off again. So they're kind of a bit annoyed by this, so they kind of have to start moving into the land. But there is a pretty large group in the country that says, instead of doing this, we should just invade these guys, because we are the strongest Chinese country. But when their wish is not granted, these guys are going to leave, and they're going to form their own country. And they're going to try and get pretty far away, so they will actually be moving all the way over here to Korea, and they'll be setting up their country here. The green team is going to be exploring some more of this land, now moving over to the Norwegian coast. And after doing just a little bit more of exploring, they are going to be colonising quite a big portion of this land. This kind of does create some tension with the southern parts over here, as the green team does appear to be putting more effort into this area than their original area, but that probably won't lead to anything. They also take this island right here. Over here to Finland, we see that they also explore just a little bit of land, and they will be taking some of it on the coast. They also meet up with the White Sea over here, I believe that's what it's called, and they connect up with it as well, quickly becoming a pretty nice looking nation. Next up, we will move over to this little Caspian Sea country, because they are going to complete one of their goals, which is to explore around the lake fully, or the sea. And they will expand just a little bit of it, going up north. They don't really focus on going south. Over here in Korea, we see them fully take the southern area of the peninsula and move up north just a little bit. We also see the gold team down here expand up at north as well. And these guys continue to move in to the mainland, now actually taking quite a large portion in the south, as well as some in the north. And the Beijing country will be taking some waters of the Yellow Sea. And yeah, that is our East Asian update for today. Anyway, back over here we see that the British Isles get fully discovered. And yeah, now the maps of the world being produced are quite knowledgeable on their areas. We also see this area being explored and connected up, and the Ukrainians will be taking a little bit more of this land. So they take a little bit of this land, not too much of it. I'm also going to give them some land over here. Next up, we will be moving over to Africa, where we see the purple team send out many exploration groups to discover a bit more of Africa. They then decide to colonize some of this land as well, going down just a little bit. Next up, the Romans will take Sardinia. But now we will actually be focusing on the red team, because something not great happens for the red team. So the red team at the minute, they are focusing on colonizing Britain, and they're actually taking like way too much land for their stability. They're really just kind of trying to get this as like fast as possible so Ireland can't get any of it, which is kind of pointless because Ireland really isn't focused on colonizing Britain. But this is going to cause a pretty big movement that already happened, like ever since the original collapse of the red team when the blue team and the green team broke away, and that is going to be a revolution or a rebellion. So we see this northern German team pop up, definitely not funded by the green and yellow teams. These guys will quickly consolidate themselves as a pretty nice front over here, and the red team will mobilise up their military to go and fight this. So the red team, the rebellion continues to grow, and then the red team's military does end up arriving, pushing them back just slightly. But just as it is looking up for the red team on this front, we see multiple rebellions take place in this newly colonised English land. And this quickly just takes over the whole island, and now it's going even worse for the red team over here as the Danish people continue to push back, now even getting close to the capital. And it is at this point where we also see another country join the war, and that is these magenta guys over here. Seeing this is a very good opportunity to gain access to the coast, they will launch an invasion of the red team, and this is basically just going to cause the red team to surrender. So let's have a look at this peace treaty. So looking at this peace treaty here, we can see that the red team has been heavily weakened. They lose this coastal land and then their Danish land as well as the English land. The Danes set up their capital right over here on this major city on the peninsula, and the English set up their capital in London, which is one of the biggest cities. It's where the red team first moved in to colonise the Isles. So that was a pretty interesting war, but now we will be focusing on the green team. So while the green team was like heavily involved in that, they did fund that, and it kind of hurt their economy, sort of like how when America broke away from the UK in real life, the French funded it and it kind of wrecked their economy. It did cost the green team a lot of money to do that, and this turns the already like unpopular monarchy of the green team that decided to heavily go over to this. Well, it's just going to kind of lead to a breakaway. And that is this very large Swedish breakaway state that even has the support from the people in the capital. And this kind of all started when the king of the green team decided to leave the capital and move to a city over here in Norway. And the people kind of think he's betraying them, so they will break away right here. And the green team really stands no chance against this. The green team hopes that the Danes will help them out, but the Danes really aren't interested in doing this, so they kind of feel sad about that. And we end up seeing a peace treaty looking something like this, where the green team is forced to move their capital over here. These guys will quickly expand outwards, going over to the Stockholm area, and they are quickly becoming a pretty large nation. Now, really quickly, I'm going to change the colour of these guys because they are a bit too similar to the Danes. But now we will be moving down here because we're going to see a new country form, and that is actually going to be this northern Turkish country right over here. They're going to very quickly establish themselves, and they're going to kind of rush to take this land, which is going to make the Greeks kind of rush to take this land as well. And we actually see the Turks, kind of not really bother to cut the Greeks off because they don't really want to be unstable. Their capital will be right over here. Next up, we'll go back to this country over here because they're going to take a bit more land, and they're also going to do more exploring, meeting up with the Aral Sea. They'll kind of fully explore the land around this, and they will also move down into Persia, as well as up here, and finally just a little bit more into Central Asia. Now, moving back onto Greece, there is something else happening there. Now, this Carthaginian colony has become like very powerful, and the people are kind of calling for independence from Greece because they are being treated as a colony instead of a part of Greece. And because Greece is like probably the most liberal country in the whole world at this point, maybe the only yeah, I feel like the only one that could be a competitor for that is Ireland. But yeah, so the Greeks will do a referendum, and it passes like 80% that the Carthaginians want their independence. So the Greeks will go ahead and grant that. And now we have a new Carthaginian state right here. These guys will be quick to explore and take a little bit of land on the coast. They were kind of being limited by Greece to do this, which is another reason why they wanted to leave Greece. But yeah, they will set themselves up as a pretty nice nation. This kind of sparks some ideas in the Egyptian colony, however the Greeks do value this one a lot more, so they won't really allow referendums to be held here. But now we will actually be looking at a new layer forming up, and that is going to be the trade routes layer. So this layer right here will allow me to show you where the paths of trading goes, and it will also help a lot with wars happening. So the first trade route we will see is the like southern Mediterranean one, and this goes like down into parts of Morocco, over past the capital of the purple team, up here across the Catalonian coast, down the Pyrenees. It's here where it splits off, but we'll cover that one in a minute. This continues around the coast and it goes down to the capital of Rome. It then continues up here in the north, going down to this capital, and then we kind of see something very interesting happening here. We see how Greece is kind of a hub for trade, as they have multiple different trade route paths, and they made sure that they all connect from the capital, and that ensures that most of the trade will flow through their capital. This trade route then goes through Turkey as well, and it's even set up down here to go over to Egypt. This one isn't really like made very well, it's kind of just a bunch of people walking, there's no roads built like for the other ones. And it's currently going in process where there will be one constructed going over to Carthage, and it's about this much constructed at this point. Now over to this trade route, this one goes along the French coast and to the capital of the blue team, then going to the capital of the red team, up into Denmark, and it kind of stops here. Now we have a second trade route network going over here from the capital of the yellow team down to the capital of these guys, and this one was built by the yellow team before they collapsed. There we go. Well, not collapsed, it was built by them before they lost Finland, and they are kind of thinking of connecting this one up to the main one, so they have this like other secondary road built. Over in China, it's pretty simple. It kind of just starts at the capital of Korea, moves down over to Beijing, and then just goes down the coast, meeting up with all of the capitals. And yeah, that is a pretty simple trade route network there. And the second layer I want to talk about that we have is a religion layer. So the religion layer will consist of multiple different religions. The first one we have is this red religion here. This is the founding religion. It also goes over here across the coast and kind of just a little bit into the centre. Next up we have the blue religion. This one goes down over here to parts of northern Rome as well as the rest of this country, parts of the purple team and this country here. Next up we have the green religion. This is Denmark, Sweden, as well as Finland and parts of this purple team right here. Next up we have the orange religion. This is a pretty big one. This one goes down to here. It goes into Rome as well. This one also kind of comes up here and splits with the red team. I think I'm just going to give... Next up, and I think the final religion we'll have over here is the... Oh, and these guys actually. And the final religion we have is the light blue religion. And that's these two as well as part of these guys, but most of them is this. So yeah, that is the religions in the old world. Let's go and have a look at the new world religions. Or I guess the East Asian religions. And this one is pretty simple. It is just all the same religion, and we have Korea as an offshoot of this religion. Speaking of offshoots, I just realised there's something I forgot to do. The purple team is an offshoot of the blue religion, which I will simplify as that. So that is the religion map, so that will be important soon, but for now, bye bye. But next up we actually have a big event happening in East Asia, and this is actually going to be the discovery of Japan by the Chinese country as well as Korea. Korea discovers it from up here, and the two meet up in a collaborative effort to explore Japan. Now, they aren't really working together as friends. Remember, this Chinese country is the country that Korea split off from, but they will be civil with each other in exploring Japan. They explore all the way up into Hokkaido and into the southern Kuril Islands, as well as parts of southern Sakhalin, but they don't explore this one too much. They do explore the coast a bit, and it's also at this point where we see a lot more exploration into central China. This allows the brown team to make a small gain. I think I'm actually going to shift. I'm just like, I keep realising that I don't like the colours of some of these countries, but I think that's it. I don't mind any of the other colours. I think it's just those two. But yeah, anyway, we will be seeing them do some expansion over here as well, and this will allow them to meet up with Korea, which isn't, they weren't trying to do this, they just meet up. We also see the golden country down here explored some of Japan. What? We also see the gold country down here colonize some Vietnamese land. And we also see these guys, they discovered Taiwan, but we're going to actually see a different country pop up here. And their capital will be right here. It's a pretty small country, but at least it exists. We see the Koreans taking Jeju Island, and we see the Chinese taking all of these islands over here. And they decide that they're going to set up a pretty small colony on these southern Japanese islands. However, it's kind of difficult for them to get to this, because it is still at this point where like storms and stuff in the ocean make it hard to travel. Like, the Mediterranean is fine to do this in, but not in the open waters here. We see the Turks colonise a little bit more land, and they also explore more down here into the Middle Eastern area. We see the Greeks colonise a little bit more of Egypt, but then they also explore a little bit of the coast of Egypt. We see the Green Team expand just a little bit out here. We see the Irish decide that they're going to set up a state in Scotland that actually has the brother of the current king. So after the English take a bit of the land, we see Scotland be set up, just like this. I'm actually only going to give them that. And Ireland does take the Isle of Man here as well. And the Scottish capital will be right here. We see the South China team explore Vietnam, and they go around all the way into Thailand. They then go down south into Malaysia, and even cross the gap over here into Indonesia, I guess. We then have a lot more exploration of this into the jungles. This also takes place up here in northern China, as well as Manchuria and into Sakhalin. We see the island be fully discovered now. We see the Philippines be discovered as well, going down all the way to the southern islands here. And at this point we're actually going to see a new nation pop up in Japan. And by a new nation I mean two new nations. We see this red nation form over here. And we see this light yellow, that's a bit too light actually. And we see this yellow/brown nation form up as well. The borders of these guys are going to look something like this. And we are also going to see China fully take this island as well as this one, and Korea is going to take this one. Or this area, I guess, because it's not an island. Now these guys will be given capitals as well. And that will be over here and over here. Next up we will see the very small Taiwan country actually set up a colony in the Philippines. Going into just the northern island as well as these islands down here, not going too far south though. It's pretty interesting because now they have a colony bigger than their mainland. We also see the southern Chinese country take some Vietnamese land, but they also move into China as well. And at this point we are seeing a lot more exploration into central China, and we also see these guys expand as well, and these guys will also do a bit of expansion. And these guys will also do a little bit of expansion too. We actually are now going to see another nation form, and that is going to be the light blue team. They're going to form up right over here, and they're going to establish themselves as a pretty big nation. And the reason these guys formed is because they identify more with this Korean offshoot religion instead of this main Chinese one, so they will be forming their own nation which identifies as this religion. Now, I will update the religion map soon. I'm just going to leave it as it is for now because it's not too important at the minute. But yeah, so these guys will set up themselves as a country, and I'm just going to give these guys some nicer looking borders, so I will be right back with that. There we go, that looks a lot better. And these guys are also going to set up some borders, even though this is kind of what they look like. I just kind of want them to look nicer. And we are also going to see them connect up with this gold team in the south. And yeah, they will look something like that. We then see more land be explored as these guys are very curious about their surroundings. This will also lead to the rest of the Philippines being discovered, going all the way down here. And with all this land being known but unclaimed, we're actually going to see some people decide to move down here to form up their own nation. And that is going to be this Lime Indonesian team. They go from Borneo all the way over to Malaysia, and these guys will definitely be important in the future as they control a major trade route. And then they decide that they're going to go down here, which grants them a second trade route. Well, at the minute it's not a trade route, but one day it probably will be. These guys are going to continue exploring, now taking these islands as well as the rest of Borneo. They won't colonise this land, they're just exploring it. They also move over here to Timor. Whoops, not that much. They also move over here to Timor. And up here we see more of this Manchurian area be explored as well. And we're going to see a new nation form there. And this guy is going to be the Orange Sakhalin team. They're going to set themselves up on the north of Manchuria as well as, like I said, Sakhalin. And then I'm just going to pretty up their border just a little. And the reason they've set themselves this far north is because they kind of just want to be away. And they will achieve that as a goal. Their capital will be right at the connection point on this side of the water. And yeah. But now we're actually going to be moving back over here to Europe as we see more expansion into Scandinavia. And most of this is being done by Sweden, but also the Green team. And for the most part we see all of it get explored. Now there are still some unknown areas in the north, but just for simplicity's sake I will be colouring it all white. We also see exploration into Russia. Now they know about this much of the land, and the blue team also does the same. And they also reach up with the Aral Sea over here and move around the north of the Caspian. We then see the Turkish country take a little bit more land, and they actually cut the Greeks off here. The Greeks aren't too happy about this, but they're not really too bothered because they are a pretty strong naval power, so they can just move around here instead. But then it kind of gets bad because the Greeks decide that now they're going to colonise Cyprus, but at the same time the Turkish also decide that they're going to do that. And this actually creates a border dispute as the Greeks claim all of the island, but the Turks claim this part of it. This is definitely not controversial. Oh, that's bad. I just realised how controversial that will be. Please don't fight in the comments, guys. But yeah, that leads to the first border dispute, and this heavily hurts relations between Greece and Turkey. Another thing I want to mention about Greece, at this point they are a monarchy, however they are starting to become a little bit more authoritarian, seeing how Carthage broke away, and with Egypt deciding to have some ideals of that as well, they are kind of stepping up their control, but this also leads to harder control over their mainland areas. Next up we will be moving over to the yellow team, who, after doing nothing for a while, decides we're going to finally expand again because they think they're stable enough to do so, but it turns out, no. They do now think they're stable enough to do this expansion, but they quickly realise it's not, because we see this Estonian breakaway state right here. Which, yeah, that didn't go well for them. These guys are going to take a lot of this northern land, and yeah. Not going too well for the yellow team. The yellow team is on a heavy decline. They were never really that strong in the first place, but yeah, they're definitely not doing too hot anymore. Moving back up here really quickly again, we're going to see Sweden actually decide to colonise a pretty large portion of this land, moving up all the way over to here. And Sweden is starting to get very big. We also see the Norwegians decide to do this as well, but they don't take as much. And the Finnish do the same, but they also don't take as much. Next up, over here, north of the green team, we actually see a new country start up over here. This is going to be, I guess, these guys will, I guess, be the Belarusian country, and this is going to lead to a exploration of this land. Now, the yellow team, they're going to take this, and it's going to hurt them, but they don't really care at this point. And the Belarusians will set themselves up pretty nicely. We also see some of this land going over to Ukraine, and I'm also going to fix up this border over here, just like that. These guys will have their capital right over here, kind of far away, but they don't really mind about that. We're now also going to see the Finnish explore down here, but they decide to do something pretty interesting. And that is they're actually going to set up a puppet state over here. Now, why would the Finnish do this? Well, they have learnt from the lesson of the yellow team being, if you try and just expand really quickly, then you're just going to lose this land. So the Finnish are actually pretty smart in doing this, and they set up this, I guess, St. Petersburg country, even though it doesn't even have St. Petersburg. I guess I'll just call it like Novgorod or something. Now we're going to see some more exploration down south, as we see Mesopotamia be discovered by the Turks and the Caspians. They will then continue down the coast, but not really too much, and they will also explore down the coast over here. Now, this is actually such a good area to live in. We're actually going to see a new country form over here, and that is going to be this dark purple team right here. They're going to set themselves up as a pretty nice Mesopotamian country, and their capital will be right here. And I think the last thing that will be happening in this video is actually something pretty major, and we're going to see something happen now. There was a suggestion in the comments, and that's actually going to be this Indian country. So when the people from here kind of left the red team, some of them didn't really come all the way, and these guys are now going to be setting up their own group of countries. So they will be exploring. So this is the land that they know, and they'll be setting up countries now. So we have this lime/blue country over here. We have this sort of red-pink country over here. And we have this dark blue country right here. These guys are going to explore a little bit, and they're going to set up their borders properly, which is good for our eyes. I actually don't mind these guys' borders, but I am going to fix them. And their capitals will be over here, and right here. So to start off with, I just want to mention I have done the province map and the major city map. I can toggle these on when we're going through wars, but I just think this looks nice. I've tried to do it so the lesser populated areas have bigger provinces, so you can kind of grasp it from that. I will update this after every episode, I think. I don't know if I'll do a live stream for drawing provinces, but I might. So we're going to be beginning up here in the north because we're going to see some more expansion. The Swedish country is going to keep on expanding around the coast. And after seeing Norway do some expansion as well, we're going to see Sweden and Norway reluctantly sign a treaty in order to not lead a war to happen due to this land, because it could easily lead to a big dispute. And in this deal we see it looking something like this. So Norway does manage to get the coastal areas, which kind of annoys Sweden, but yeah, they have managed to secure land. So looking at what Sweden got, Sweden does get a very large portion of land here. But now they're going to continue expanding around the coast. Sweden is getting quite strong at this point. But we're actually going to see a new nation form here. And this is going to be from people from Sweden and Norway and Finland as well. And they're going to be a pretty small nation. They're going to set themselves up right here. However, they are going to quite quickly expand. And once they finish setting themselves up, they're going to look something like this. And their capital will be right over here. This kind of does cut Sweden off, which they are a bit annoyed about, and this is going to lead to them expanding up north, and we're going to see them take about this much land. Moving down to Finland, they're going to draw up a border with this new country, and it's going to look something like this. And this northern country will also claim this land. I'm going to shift their colour because it is a little bit too similar, I think. There we go, that looks better. We're also going to see Finland continue to expand their claims over here. And I'm going to drop them a border, and it's going to look something like this. However, they can't really go much further north as it is getting very cold up here. Just a bit lower down, they are going to be expanding their puppet state. They're going to be going southward, and they're going to be looking something like this. This does leave some land over here open, and we're going to see this Baltic country claim some of it, and we're also going to see Russia claim some of it. Over in Ukraine, they're going to be doing a little bit of expansion, and we're also going to see a new country form just right above them. And that's going to be this dark green country, and that kind of does annoy Ukraine as it blocks them off. And this country also doesn't have very good relations with Russia, as a lot of people that are in this country left Russia to form this guy, so these guys are not going to get along very well at all. Down here in the Caucasus, we're going to see multiple things happen. First, we're going to see the Anatolian country claim quite a bit of this land. And next up, we're going to see this new country form on the east of the Caspian, or I guess this is the east of the Caucasus, and it's going to be on the west of the Caspian Sea. And these guys are kind of from this blue country, and this blue country is it's kind of an authoritarian country. They are a monarchy, but they're an absolute monarchy, and they don't have very much rights for the people, so the people left and came here, and this country is going to be an oligarchy. But it is more pro-people. So yeah, that's why a lot of people decided to move here. But now we're going to see some more exploration into Arabia, as we're going to see a lot of people decide that they're going to move here to form their own country, as it is quite an open amount of land. And we're going to see about this much of the peninsula be explored, although they also probably will explore down here as well. And a pretty large amount of this land is going to get divided up. We see 2 new countries form here, as well as the Anatolians and Greece also taking a bit. Now, this country is important because this country is actually formed by people leaving the Greece-Egyptian colony, because they want this colony to be independent, and now they also want it to be independent under them. We're going to see the Anatolians and these guys sign a bit of a deal, and we'll see what this leads to in a minute. Down in Africa, we're going to see some more exploration with a lot of this coast being discovered on the Red Sea. This is going to go all the way down to Somalia. This is also going to lead to some more exploration in Arabia, leading to the whole coast being discovered, and I'm also just going to colour all of this in white as well. And we are seeing more exploration into the desert. This is kind of just fueled by curiosity, to be honest, but there are some people who think there's natural resources in the desert. They won't really find many, to be honest. And we're going to see a few new countries form. Also, Socotra gets discovered as well. So we're going to see 2 new countries form here. We're going to see this Somalian one, and we're also going to see this Sudanese country. Over here, we're also going to see some exploration on the western coast of Africa. As the purple team sends exploration groups down, they also discover the Cape Verde Islands. And there's a lot of people who see this as a nice place to live, so they're going to set up their country right here. And their capital is actually going to be stationed on Cape Verde Islands. Probably right here. Now we're going to see a lot more exploration into Africa all around, and at the end we're going to see something like this be known. But now we're going to have a look at the purple team. So a lot of people have just left their country to form this new state, and it's because there are quite a lot of issues with the government of the purple team, and this is actually going to lead to sort of like a lot of protests over here on this western coast, and this is actually going to lead to a full-scale rebellion. So this peach-coloured country is going to break away, and it's going to be started over here on the Balearic Islands, and it's going to spread over here to the coast. And these guys want their independence to form an actual republic, which is one of the first republics. And they're going to fight hard. The purple team is going to mobilise their military. However, a lot of the military is actually going to be siding with this rebellion. So the purple team does attempt to make a push into the country. However, it really doesn't go too well, and we kind of just see a stalemate. The purple team will try an offensive in the north. However, then the northern Spanish country will attempt to fund these guys, and this kind of just really makes it hard for these guys to push back. I'm talking about the purple team. And we're actually going to see a ceasefire be signed, and this is going to lead to a peace treaty. So let's see what these guys are going to draw up. So in this peace treaty here, the Balearic Island country is going to be getting this set of provinces, and they will be setting up their capital on one of these major cities, and that is going to be right here. Now, this is not going to be the only case of instability we're going to be seeing, as a lot of these Central European countries, when they were set up, they didn't have much population, so they were able to be quite big, and they could rule their country easily. But now there is actually going to be a lot more people in these countries, and it's going to start to become very unstable, as they were not set up to have a large population. Some of these countries are about 100 years old or so, and this country is going to get hit the hardest by this. So this country is going to kind of collapse, as we're going to see a few rebellions break out over here. This is in the Alp area, and these are going to quickly consolidate into a front. We also see the blue team and the Romans look at this as an excellent opportunity to gain some land. So in turn for not joining this war, the Romans and the blue team are going to demand some land from this guy. So the Romans are going to demand these provinces right here, and the blue team is going to demand this province. Looking at it from the province map, these are the provinces that were lost. But now the beige team can get back to fighting its civil war. These guys are going to try and get to the capital, however it's not going to really work, as these guys are also not very strong, and unlike this rebellion down here, these guys aren't receiving any support from a foreign power, so it's going to lead to another sort of ceasefire happening. So in this peace treaty here, we can see that this country has effectively been split in two. This blue team broke away, and it's very weak. They only had one major city right here. There was also this province in the north. It was being heavily disputed. However, after the citizens were put to a vote, they decided to stay with the original government. So yeah, that was a big hit for this guy, and they are now much weaker. But now we're going to be moving away from the old world, and we're going to look at some new events happening in East Asia. So in India, we see the rest of the peninsula be explored, as well as Sri Lanka, and we also see some exploration up into the mainland of Asia. This goes over into Bangladesh. However, these guys are not going to meet up for a while. They explore more around the coast as well. And these guys do know about... No, they don't. These guys don't know about each other as well. It's because they're not like trading with each other, because there's barely any countries over here to do that with. I'm sure soon they will know about each other. These guys will connect up probably, maybe in the next episode maybe, but these guys are going to be separate for a little bit longer. And with some more of this land being explored, we're actually going to see some new countries form. So we're going to see this South India country form right here, and we're also going to see another country form as well as some expansion, so I'll draw that up right now. So we're going to see this Bangladesh country form right here. This Mint country is going to take this land. This country isn't going to take too much land, however they are already the most powerful country on the Indian subcontinent. This country is going to take a little bit of land. This also connects them up with the blue team and kind of cuts off this guy from expanding too much more. And yeah, that is going to be our update for the Indian countries. Down over here, we're going to see the Lime team do a lot of expanding. They take all of Socotra as well as all of Java. They take a big portion of Socotra and a little bit more of Java as well. And yeah, overall they just do quite a large bit of expansion. Now quickly becoming a very powerful nation down here, and there is a lot of people from these northern countries moving down as they see this country as quickly expanding, showing them as very strong. So this is going to lead to a lot of these countries also expanding. So we're going to see all of these Chinese countries get quite a bit bigger. Korea is also going to get in on this, taking a quite large chunk of land out of southern Manchuria. And the rest of the Japanese islands are going to be explored and colonized. Well, they already were explored. We're going to see Sakhalin country take this land down here. I'm just going to fix that. There we go. They're also going to expand into the mainland, taking this chunk of land in the north, and they're going to take some coastal land in the south, hoping to get some more freshwater access. They're then going to explore further into China, however they're not going to really do so in the south. They do explore a tiny bit into Siberia, but they really don't go far there. And the final event of this video is actually going to be a very major one. So over here in Egypt, we're going to see a lot of protests and rebellions break out as Greece continues to become a little bit more authoritarian. The Anatolian country is going to show their support for this Egypt. I'll just call these guys Egypt. And we're going to actually see these guys launch an invasion of Greece. So they're going to move into the Sinai Peninsula quickly. However, the Greeks will then mobilize their colonial army, which is stationed in Egypt. Now, it's here where the Anatolian country is kind of going to do something stupid. They're going to see how well these guys are doing against Greece and Egypt, and they're going to decide that it's time, we're going to invade Cyprus. So the Turkish country invades Cyprus, but they were kind of underestimating the Greeks, because down here, this guy is only going up against the Greek colonial army, and Turkey's about to go up against the entire Greek military. So the Greeks will absolutely storm straight into Turkey, and they will quickly take the capital. The Turks were absolutely not expecting this. The Greeks will then speed straight towards like the main Anatolian part, and they will also go down the coast. And this is kind of making these guys say, what are you doing? Because now the Greeks can come down from the north directly on land. So these guys are going to blitz through Egypt as fast as they can, and they do manage to successfully take out the country, and then they move their forces up north. This does lead to a minor pushback in Greece. However, in the north they continue along the coast, and they're now heading for this major city over here. And if they take it, they are pretty sure that Turkey will collapse, as it is one of their only ones left. They also capture this one, and in the battle of this major city, it is fought to a standstill. But now we're going to see something pretty interesting happen. Over here in Naples, this is a Greek colony, and the Greeks treat it as such. They do not treat it as their mainland. The Greeks see their mainland as... the Greeks only view their mainland as this. They do not view Naples and then this guy as their mainland. They treat it as a colony, and they have less rights as the main Greek land. And this is also why Carthage broke away from Greece. And Carthage, seeing this war, is going to go over to Naples and say, would you like independence and you can join us? And Naples is actually going to go ahead and say yes. And of course the Greeks are going to see this as an invasion, but they can't really do much because their forces are all tied up over here. Now, the Carthaginians do offer peace to Greece, however Greece denies this, and because of this we're actually going to see the Carthaginians send over some troops to Egypt. This is going to lead to quite a big pushback and even allows Turkey to secure this major city right here. And we see the battle of this major city take place, as well as this one, as the Greeks sort of make a wall of defences, and they even push back to the capital, and they have to set up a border right here, going along with these 3 major cities that they are fortifying. The Allies struggle to get past the Greek defences, and we also see the Greeks successfully landing in southern Naples before the Carthaginians can move a lot of military assets there. And after a while, we kind of just see the war like just stop. It just stays still right here, and the countries are all going to decide it's time to end the war, and we're going to sign a peace treaty. So in this peace treaty here, we can see a pretty big compromise has been made. So let's break it down. So first of all, Naples and Sicily, they fully go over to Carthage. Now you might be thinking, why? Because in the end days of the war, Greece did have a pretty good foothold in Naples. And this is actually because they knew that if they took this back, after having a taste of freedom, they were going to just keep on rebelling and it was going to be a pain for Greece. So Greece decides, we're just going to give it up. In Egypt, it fully unites with this country right here, and they move their capital over to Cairo. This is not where Cairo is. I'm just going to call that it's Cairo because it's capital of Egypt in real life. But over here in Turkey, this is the only member of that alliance that kind of lost this war. I forgot to colour in Cyprus. They are going to lose a very large chunk of land, even losing their main capital. And they're going to be forced to move it over to this major city right here. And yeah, this is a pretty big blow for Turkey, and they are starting to become quite unstable after this war. So yeah, that is a big blow for them. But that is actually going to be it for this video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. I do hope you guys are enjoying this WICSO series. I do have a lot planned, like I've said before, with this series. But you can also leave suggestions in the comments if you want. But yeah, that is it, and I will see you in the next video.